the football games. Obviously, plenty to discuss, plenty to talk about in regards to the football. Like we've obviously got the group stages are obviously starting this weekend. 4 games happening in the groups. You've got Galway versus Derry, you've got Mayo versus Cavan, Clare versus Cork, and Kerry versus Monaghan, and of course round 2 in the Tailteann Cup as well. So we'll start with Galway versus Derry. Huge one, this one, obviously, for Derry. Like, obviously, having lost to Donegal a couple of weeks ago, it feels like an absolute age since they played, in all honesty, and it feels like almost the start of a new season for Derry in many ways. But Galway, after beating Mayo, like, I mean, they'll be full of confidence, especially with Comer back, with Walsh back, Killian McDade's back, maybe Matthew Tierney as well. And interestingly enough, I heard from Mal McMullen earlier, like, Derry have never beaten Galway in the championship, which is quite the statistic as well. So, like, I don't know. Like, this one could be a draw and go down to the wire. What would you be thinking for this?
It's a tough one to call, really, because the Derry probably were going in as favourites 2 years ago in that All-Ireland semi-final. And similar sort of scenario to the Donegal game where Orr Lynch was going off his line and Galway caught him that day. But what would be interesting, not just the result in this, because I think someone made a point in the paper, I think it was at the back of the Independent last week, about games like Galway, Derry and Roscommon, Dublin next week. They don't necessarily have, you know, meaning to the game in terms of like jeopardy and things like that, which should be probably improved. The 3 sides go through and things like that. I think, honestly, judging by that narrative and things like that from that Independent article, I'm not sure off the top of my head who actually wrote it, but I read it was a very good article, by the way, last week in the Independent. But judged by that, and it's not a results-based business in the group stage, I think it'll be interesting to see what Derry's temperament will be. What will they do with Orr Lynch? Will they actually bring him out again? Will they play a different type of tactic and things like that? So it will be interesting to see the dynamics as well with Galway. Will they start Shane Walsh in this one? Like they didn't do so against Mayo, kept him on the bench, came on later on and did a direct after that. Will they start the likes of Kieran Malloy this one? Damien Comer, he's going to be a focal point again. Who will go on him from a Derry point of view? Will it be Chrissy McCaig? Like you'd imagine so, considering his threat in the Connacht final against Mayo. So a lot of narratives around this game, but it's just a shame that there's no like jeopardy around this, as people have been mentioning in the lead up to this. And yeah, it will be an interesting one to see who goes on and wins this game and provides a platform to potentially get that top spot in the group, because I think all these sides, like the Galways, the Derrys, the Kerrys, the Dublins, the Mayos, will be aiming for that top spot, because you looked at last season, only one of the 4 of the top spot failed to reach the semi-final. That was Armagh losing in penalties. That's been the norm, to be honest. But that was the only team that failed to reach the semi-finals. So it does show that the teams coming through the preliminary round route get more tired once they get to Croke Park at the quarter finals. So there'll be a lot of aim once it comes to these sorts of teams at the higher end of the pedestal to get to the quarterfinals straight away rather than going the provincial route. So in a way, it's a crucial enough game. Is there jeopardy? No. But is there a crucialness, if that's a word, to this game? Maybe there is, considering both sides would be vying for top spot.
Yeah, Shawnee says here, we'll be interested to see where Derry are. Are they gone or revitalise Galway? Have a good record against northern teams. Yeah, look, I mean, it will be interesting for Derry, all right. But for Galway, I suppose, looking at them, first of all, having obviously beat Mayo in the way they did, obviously with a couple of late points and the way they turned the game around. Like, if we think back to last year, Galway were at a certain stage in the championship, I remember people's favourites. A lot of people were looking towards them. They were the most consistent. At the time, Dublin looked very inconsistent. Kerry were very inconsistent. You didn't, like Mayo had started the league very, very well, but looked like they'd start to fall off the boil. And Galway was quietly going about their business, beating obviously Tyrone and Galway prior to losing to Armagh. And then obviously things very much fell apart after that. So like, are Galway back now to looking like the Galway we think we know? Because Walsh is back, Comer is back, Killian McDade and Matthew Tierney might be potentially back as well. So like, Galway nearly have their best starting 15, which they haven't had too often this year.
And the thing is, it's kind of the opposite from last season, because in the league and in the Connacht Championship, Galway seemed to be peaking a bit too early. And this year, when you look at it, like Sligo could have beat them in that semi-final in Connacht, but I think that was kind of, I would like to say it was a plan from Pádraig Joyce, because I'm sure they don't go in with that mentality going to any game at the championship. And Sligo are a decent side. But Galway kind of are timing their form, if you like, to perfection. And Mayo seemed to be doing that in the Connacht Championship as well, but until they lost the final to Galway, which was really, really poor. Maybe they could revitalise their season. That's another discussion for another game, Mayo against Cavan later on. But I think for Galway, I think the performance in the Connacht final was almost perfect. 69% shot accuracy. Their kickouts were really, really good. Conor Gleeson seemed to get a bit more confidence. I think that was the thing from a Galway goalkeeping standpoint as well. Conor Gleeson lacked confidence over the last 2 seasons. Even when they got to that All-Ireland final 2 years ago, he was seen as the weak link in that Galway team. To kick those 2 freezing 45s to win the game against Mayo in that Connacht final, I think that might be the sign of a new dawn for him. Because of the confidence that he will get later on down the season. So it will be crucial to see that type of standpoint at how Galway are progressing. And who will they start with? Like Robert Finnerty's in brilliant form. Damien Comer's in brilliant form. Shane Walsh, you would imagine that's going to be the full forward line. Matthew Tierney at centre forward. Johnny Heaney at a wing. You would imagine, like, I don't know who'll be at the other wing, but that's still a very good forward line to have. And Killy McDay potentially to come back in there as well. Paul Conroy, John Maher played well against Mayo at times. So when you look at the names in the team sheet, Galway have some very good players. And it's still a Ciara Malloy to come in. You still have Dylan McHugh, who performed excellently last day against Mayo. Jack Lynn, Conor Gleeson getting a bit more confidence. Sean Kelly, what will they do with him now? Killy McDade's back in the team, and John Maher's getting more of a game time. Will they move him back to full back? Will they keep him in midfield? It'd be an interesting dynamic to see on Saturday how it does play out. But yeah, Galway are going along nicely. And you wouldn't have said that before the Mayo game. You would have said that Galway are struggling kind of docket. But this time round, Galway seem to be timing their form, if you like, to perfection.
Yeah, I suppose at the same time, like, I mean, looking at it from a Derry perspective, like they definitely haven't gone away. Like they're still there. They're still one of the All-Ireland favourites. Yes, they lost to Donegal, but I think when you actually look back at that game, they actually weren't that bad. Like, I think they scored 23 points. They obviously made a couple of big errors, obviously, as you said, with Orr Lynch getting caught off his line on a couple of occasions. But all in all, their performance against Donegal, I thought for large parts was very good. It was just certain moments that went wrong. So, like, for Derry, and the fact is as well, Derry have been playing consistently week in, week out for the last couple of years. They've barely ever had a break from the start of the league right up until the end of the championship. These Derry lads have barely had a break. And even you think of the Watty Graham's Glen lads as well, the likes of Kieran McFall, Conor Glass. So, like, the break, it's going to be interesting to see how they've used it, because it could either be a brilliant thing or it could maybe be like they had too much time off. How do you look at Derry coming into this? Because it's kind of hard to know. Like, they're certainly still one of the All-Ireland favourites. There's no doubt about that. But it is going to be interesting seeing them having such a long time off, because we haven't seen that with Derry in the last couple of years.
Yeah, exactly. And will these players be revitalised more than anything? Like Shane McGuigan seemed a bit tired, in fairness, against Donegal. Chrissy McCaig seemed to be a bit off it. Conor Glass was anonymous the last day against Donegal, and that was quite a worry as well. So, yeah, I think there'll be a lot of interesting dynamics around this Derry team. Like Brendan Rodgers as well, he played well enough in that Donegal game. He has to go up another level to even compete with Galway this weekend as well. You have Orr Lynch, the debacle there. Will they persist with him moving outside the goal? Will they keep going with it? Will they go into a more conservative kind of standpoint? Will they push him backwards more or less? So it'll be interesting to see all them dynamics go into the game. Will they start Lachlan Murray? Who will they start? Will they start Niall Toner on the forward line? It will be interesting to see if Derry kind of go into this more energised, or will they pick up from their bad enough game against Donegal. And I know there was the argument they scored 17 scores, Donegal scored 15, but the goals killed them. And when you look at it from a wider standpoint there, 3 of those goals were down to Orr Lynch coming out of the goal. So you would imagine if Mickey Hart is going to say to these Derry lads that they're well capable of winning the All-Ireland, he has to tell Orr Lynch to get back into the goal. Simple as that's the number one step. And I think they have to try something different in this game against Galway. There's no danger of them going out because you'd imagine they'll beat Westmeath and they might find enough form to beat either Armagh or Galway. So there's still time to scope. So Mickey Hart has to use that time to experiment or Lynch staying on his line or not going off his line too often. So that's number one. And number two as well, get Conor Glass more to the game, get Shane McGuigan more to the game, get Brendan Rodgers more to the game, get your main players on the ball as much as possible. So that'll be interesting from the Derry standpoint as well. It'll be an interesting watch.
Yeah, like, and I was just having a look back there. I don't know why I thought it was 23 points that Derry had. It was 17 points that they actually finished up with against Donegal. But in fairness, still quite a high points tally, in fairness, for a team that didn't win the game. What would you be thinking then in terms of a prediction?
I'm going to go a draw. I'm going to sit on the fence for this one. I think both sides might hide their cards a bit. Like, it's a game with no jeopardy. I just think it'll be a draw. I think it'll be a draw. And Galway will prove that they are still among the All-Ireland favourites, even if some people kind of writ them off earlier in the year. Yeah,
I'm going to go for a Derry victory, but I do think it'll be a very high-level game. It'll be very close. I think both sides will perform well, but I just fancy Derry to get over the line. I think they'll want to prove, like, I wouldn't say there's many doubters out there, in fairness, but there probably has been a few people that have started to write Derry off a little bit, and I think they'll right the wrongs. They've never beaten Galway in the championship before, so I think that's a record that they will want to beat, and I think that they will. And I think they'll remind everyone that they are still very much massive All-Ireland contenders. And I think winning that group as well is going to be huge, because, as we said before, you're most likely going to avoid Kerry and Dublin in an All-Ireland quarter-final as well, if that happens, provided obviously they come through their groups, in fairness. And speaking of Kerry, they're playing Monaghan in Group 4. I mean, look, do Monaghan have any chance here? Like, they're coming in on the back of 8 straight defeats, 7 defeats obviously in the league, or 6 defeats in the league, 1 defeat in championship, so 7 straight defeats. Obviously, they beat Dublin in the opening game in the league many moons ago. I mean, it feels like that was almost last year at this point. So Kerry surely should win quite comfortably. I mean, they weren't particularly brilliant against Clare, which will give Monaghan a little bit of confidence, but be very hard to see Monaghan get anything from this, especially with this game being in, I think it's in Killarney.
Yeah, I think Kerry should win this pretty easily, and especially with number one, Monaghan's form has been really, really poor this season. They haven't won a game since January against Dublin, and that night Dublin were without their main players, and it was more of an experimental team. And number two, Monaghan don't have a great record going down to Killarney, and I just think Kerry should have enough. Although Kerry did struggle in this very venue last year against Mayo, so there is a potential for Monaghan, if they get their A game going, that they can beat Kerry. But I just feel there's a lot of work for Monaghan to do to beat this Kerry side, and I think Kerry should win this pretty easily in the end. It'd be interesting to see who goes on David Clifford. Will it be Conor Boyle or somebody like that for the Monaghan defence? If Monaghan managed to, it'd be interesting from a David Clifford standpoint as well, because he didn't perform to his utmost against Cork and he didn't against Clare. You would feel if he has a bone to pick for later on down the season, he has to perform well in this game to get his season going. So I think this might be the opportunity for him to do that, to stretch his legs in Killarney as well. On a nice day there, I think it might be an opportunity to do that. I think Kerry should win this comfortably, in all honesty.
Yeah, I suppose at the same time, like, Monaghan, yes, they had a very poor league, as we know. Obviously got beat by Cavan as well, but like, there is a good team still in Monaghan. Like, you still have Conor McManus, Conor McCarthy, possibly Rory Beggan, potentially back obviously now as well. So I mean, like, you feel like for Monaghan, surely at some stage there has to be a kick, because like, there are plenty of good young players that have obviously made the breakthrough in the in the last couple of years as well. So like, you feel like at some stage there's going to be a kick, but at the same time, doing it against Kerry, I think it's going to be very difficult.
It is, yeah, and you imagine from a Monaghan standpoint, it's just about getting these players, the likes of Sean Jones, not so much McManus, because I don't think he needs confidence. He's still a very good player. Let's not forget that. But the likes of Sean Jones, the likes of young players beside him as well, Killian Levin and things like that. It's about getting their confidence up more than anything, and not about how they get on the All-Ireland this year, because Darren Hughes, I think that's the last we've seen of him. Hard injury that he got against Cavan. Kieran Hughes retired last season. Conor McManus, you'd imagine this is his last season as well. Rory Beggan, what's the story with him? Is he going out to the States or not? He got rejected, I think, during the week or a few weeks ago. So that's a setback for him. But is he going to stay in Ireland much longer? Remains to be seen. So yeah, there's a lot of narratives around Monaghan. And I just think for their own confidence, I think the younger players need to get the confidence going for later on the next few seasons, not just this season, because I think this season has been more so right off for Monaghan. They got relegated from Division 1. It's all about preparing for Division 2 because Division 2 is going to be tough next season to get straight back up. So yeah, that's going to be crucial for Monaghan in the next few years and getting these young players, the likes of Sean Jones and Killian Lavelle, a lot more confidence than they have got this year. So it's a big one for Monaghan in that standpoint. For a result in getting this game, maybe not so, because Meath and Louth, even for this season, Monaghan still would fancy their chances of beating those sides, especially being Meath, a neutral venue, and Louth in Clonus. I think Monaghan should win those games. And Kerry, I think they might just write this off and say this is a loss before the ball's even thrown in.
Yeah. I would give Louth a fair chance now, in fairness, but probably leave that for a discussion for another day. Yeah, I would go with Kerry, I think, fairly comfortably. I think 6-point win is what I would go for there. Mayo versus Cavan. Obviously in Group 2, Cavan, obviously without Paddy Lynch, which I think is going to be a huge blow for them. Mayo coming in on the back of obviously that defeat to Galway. Like, looking at this group, I mean, Mayo obviously have to go to the Hyde. They have to play Dublin in a neutral venue as well. It's going to be tough for Mayo if they want to win the group. You feel like if they are going to win the group, they need to win this game at a bare minimum. And to be fair, if Mayo weren't to win this game, especially with Cavan without Paddy Lynch, and I know Cavan have done very well this year, Raymond Gallagher has brought them on leaps and bounds, you would get worried a little bit for Mayo if they weren't to come through this.
I'd be extremely worried if they don't. And I think it's not a Cavan or a bad team. I just think Paddy Lynch is a colossal loss. Like, I think he's the 4th top scorer already in Championship 2024. To lose that amount of scoring out of your team, how are Cavan going to recover? Like, it's going to be interesting to see that. Interesting to see who actually goes on the freeze. There's a few Cavan fans that are saying on social media that Tiernan Madden could actually go on the freeze for them on Saturday. Remains to be seen. Will he be the guy to step up to the platform for them? Who will step up from open play? Will it be Oisin Brady? Will it be a few others other than that? Will it be Dara McVitie, who's still a decent centre forward? It'll be interesting to see that from Cavan's standpoint. But from Mayo, at home against a team that just lost their scorer in chief, you'd imagine Mayo have to win this. If they do not win this, I'd be extremely worried for Kevin McStay's side, because there was a lot of criticism after the Connacht final, and if they lose this game, the criticism will only just get worse. It's not going to get better. So, like, it's going to be interesting to see how Mayo actually attack this game. You would imagine they win this game against the Cavan side there without Paddy Lynch. But this isn't like Monaghan from a Cavan point of view. It is a bit as if they've lost their confidence. Like, they should have beat Tyrone on any other day after extra time. They beat Monaghan by 6 points. They got close to Donegal in the league. Cavan are not a bad side. But I just feel the loss of Paddy Lynch is colossal for them. I think Mayo should win this game, but I think it'll be under 5 points.
Yeah, I think so as well. Like, I could see Cavan giving it a real go, and I nearly wouldn't be surprised if this was a draw or Cavan were to really make a game of it. But you think like if they had Paddy Lynch, you'd give them a fair chance. But without him, that is a huge loss. And I know there is more to Cavan, in fairness. Like, Pádraig Faulkner has been excellent this year, in fairness, but I just can't really see Cavan pulling it off. And I think Mayo at home, after, like, you feel like Mayo's season hasn't really kick-started yet. Like, they had some good moments against Galway, in fairness. I don't think they were great against Roscommon. They got over the line that day. Their league's been very up and down, so you're kind of waiting for Mayo to click at some point. And to be fair, they probably are waiting until, you know, All-Ireland quarterfinals or preliminary rounds, or possibly even the Dublin game, before we really see their peak. So yeah, I'll go with Mayo as well. I think I'll go with a 4-point win there. And then last but not least, from the group stage games, Clare versus Cork. Look, it was all positivity about Cork earlier in the show, talking about the hurlers and everything else. But unfortunately, I'm going to burst the bubble now, because I actually fancy Clare to win this game.
Great minds think alike, because I actually think Clare will win this game as well.
Wow.
Yeah, look, I just feel like, yes, Cork performed well against Kerry, and they shackled David Clifford well. Brian Hurley was on form. and things like that. Chris O'Jones has been form all year. Conor Corbett is his turn the forward line. This is the same Cork team that lost to Louth and Cavan in the lead, though. This is why we're predicting, and if before Cork fans go after us and things like that, that's the reason why we're backing against Cork here, because of the inconsistencies there within this team. So, and as well as that, Clare weren't a disgrace against Kerry. They were really, really good, and they provided a lot of attacking input into the game. Iki Oguaru was really good for wing back. Derby Coughlin really impressed with him at centre forward. And Aaron Griffin as well from corner forward, who's got a lot for play in both league and championship, 121 to be exact, across league and championship, which is really, really impressive from him. There is a bit, I can see Cork winning this, and I do think Cork have better players than Clare. But I think Clare have better team mentality. I think Clare will win this game, especially in Ennis, especially with the crowd behind them. I think, and it's a crucial game for both sides as well, because whoever loses this, you could waive your championship dreams goodbye. You're out of the championship. So I think this will be a crucial game for both sides. Who will be up for it more, though? Who will recognise the danger more? I think it'll be Clare. And I think Clare will win this game in the end in Ennis. I said it when the group draw was made that if Cork don't beat Clare, they should be in the All-Ireland series because of Clare being in Division 3. I stand by that point. But I think Clare are going into this game more and a better form book than Cork are at this present moment in time. But I think Clare will win this game.
Yeah, do you think, though, at the same time, though, there has to be, like, surely Cork will have learned from the lessons of obviously losing to, as you said before, losing to Louth and Cavan. We saw this previously. They lost to Clare last year. So you feel like at the same time, like Cork, when you match up with Clare, and Clare obviously have a good amount of young lads in the side this year with Emmett McMahon, and obviously you have Derry McCaughlin in there as well. So you would expect Clare, or you would expect Cork surely to have learned from that last year. And surely there will be a lot more alert and there will be more of a response, because like there is a massive opportunity here for Cork. Like I do think Tyrone are beatable as well. Like I don't think it's, you know, I think you win this game. I'm not too sure you play after that, but I think Tyrone are beatable. Look, Donegal will be tough, but like there is an opportunity here for Cork. Like I think in terms of the group, they probably nearly would have asked for this, in fairness. They probably would have wanted either Clare or Louth to be the second seed. So like it's a massive opportunity for the Rebels, in fairness.
Yeah, it is, and like it is a crucial game for them. And it's a question: if John Cleary's team aren't up for this, like why in the All Ireland? Simple as. So, like I do think Tyrone are beatable, but then again, Aaron, it goes down to confidence. If they lose against Clare, I don't think that this team is capable of beating Tyrone. Simple as. So, like it all right in this game. All right in this game. And as well as that, Clare have games against Tyrone in Oma and Donegal in a neutral venue, which will probably be, I don't know, Castlebar or someplace. So Clare have a tougher two fixtures than Cork do. Cork only have to play in Páirc Uí Rinn against Donegal and Tyrone in Portlaoise or Tullamore. So, like, I think Clare have a lot more riding on this game than Cork do as well. I think that might bring it to the pitch on Saturday. I think Clare will win this game as well. So, but I'm actually shocked, Aaron, because this game out of the four has the most, I would say, jeopardy lying on it, and it's not even shown anywhere.
Yeah,
I'm kind of shocked at that. So, but look, that's a discussion for another day. That's TV deals and GAO and stuff like that. We're not getting into that, thankfully, in this pod. But yeah, I think Clare will win this game. I think they'll be more up for it. I think Mark Fitzgerald will want to stamp his authority in his first year. And I'm going to say Clare will win it.
There we go. There we go. I'm surprised by that, because I thought with myself predicting Clare to win it was a bit of a curveball prediction. Like I thought there'd be a bit more positivity around Cork, especially after giving Kerry such a good run in the semi-finals of the Munster Championship. But as you said, we have seen this numerous times with Cork down the years, and especially with how well Clare played. Like I do back them just to narrowly get through. I think home advantage is absolutely key, in fairness. Moving on to the Tailteann Cup and looking at Group 1 first of all. So we've Waterford versus Kildare. I think we're both backing Kildare to win that one quite comfortably. We don't really need to get into that in much detail. But Longford Leitrim, like this is a game that does have big implications on it. Leitrim obviously with 2 points on the board so far. You just feel like it's not really clicking for Paddy Christie and Longford. Seeing on social media a few Longford fans starting to lose patience with Paddy Christie at the helm. Do you get, like, it's a hard one to call. Like I'd probably nearly go for a draw here, to be honest.
Yeah, it is, especially with Longford being at home in this one. Would you back Longford or Leitrim in very good form at the moment? To be fair, Waterford could have even beat Leitrim the last
Yeah,
day. They only lost by 5 points.
yeah.
So, yeah, it's a difficult one. I don't want to be boring and go the same result as you are, and I'm not going to say a draw because that's a cop-out.
I mean, you can go to
I,
a draw if you feel it's a draw.
there's no gun going to my head here, but I'm going to go Longford. They're home. I'm going to go for Longford to win this one. They do have some very good players like Joseph Beggan and all them. So, yeah, I'm going to go for Longford, but this will be a tight one to call, no doubt about it. And as for the other game, self-explanatory, Kildare will win that one. But it'll be interesting to see how Waterford perform, especially at home to Kildare. A Kildare team that, in some aspects of this season, have been devoid of confidence. Can Waterford pounce on that? Be interesting to see.
There we go. There we go. Yeah, I think I will go to draw in fairness, but look, I do think could go either way. Like Leitrim probably going in with slighter confidence, having been promoted and everything else. Like Longford's recent results, even towards the end of the league, the battering versus Wexford, and obviously the result last week as well wasn't too good against Kildare. Like it was an absolute hammering. In fairness, Group B, you've got Tipperary versus Sligo and Wexford versus Antrim. Like, I mean, Sligo should be Tipperary fairly comfortably. Like Tipperary will have Conor Sweeney back. They do obviously have Conor Sweeney back now. He played the last time out against Antrim, which gives them a bit of positivity. But Wexford versus Antrim is an interesting one. Like Wexford coming in with good form there, like gave Sligo quite a good run for their money. And Antrim, you never know what you're going to get with them at the best times under Andy McEntee. So what would you be thinking here?
Wexford Antrim, I'm going to go for Wexford. They're at home. I think they're in better form than Antrim at this present moment of time. And yeah, I think Wexford should win this one. Sean Nolan's a very good form for them. You've others, Glenn Malone at the wing back position. I have to ask this question to Wexford fans as they're watching this. Glenn Malone, is he actually a defender? Because he seems to score like 1-2 nearly every single game, and he plays at the number 7 position. He probably just roams around the field or something of that nature, but he's a very good player. Definitely want to watch in this Tailteann Cup campaign. So, yeah, I'm going to go for Wexford to win that one. And as for Tipper Sligo, yeah, I think Sligo should win that game comfortably. And as for Tipperary, look, and it showed the last day as well. I know Conor Sweeney was the top scorer last weekend out of all the games in the Tailteann Cup last week with 1-7, but they rely too much on him, don't they, Aaron? They rely too much on Conor Sweeney, Sean O'Connor if he's on form as well. So that's a worrying sign for Tipperary. So I think Sligo could win that quite comfortably.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think Sligo should be too strong. And I would go for Wexford as well. I think they're coming in with huge momentum at home in Wexford Park. I'd fancy them to get the job done there. Group 3, Carlow versus Fermanagh and Wicklow versus Laois. Fermanagh should be Carlow, but Carlow gave a good account of themselves against Laois in fairness with those 2 late goals, obviously, to dig out a draw. And Wicklow-Laois is an interesting one as well. Like, I mean, Wicklow had a good championship or Leinster championship, I felt, against beating Westmeath and obviously giving a good account of Kildare. But when you look aside from that, like you feel like the Wicklow that played in that Leinster championship is an entirely different Wicklow to what we saw in both the league and in the Tailteann Cup. So you'd fancy Laois, to be fair, to probably edge Wicklow. But what would you think?
For sitting the Fermanagh Carlow game, I think Carlow will make it hard for Fermanagh. I think Fermanagh will get over the line. I think they did stamp their authority on the competition last week against Wicklow, scoring 3-16. But I think Carlow could give them a right old test, but I think Fermanagh should win that comfortably in the end. And Wicklow against Laois. Wicklow at home.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say Wicklow. Auckram's a fortress. I'm gonna go for Wicklow to win this one. And Laois, I think the game against Carlow, they'll be absolutely kicking themselves after that result last week. How on earth did they let a 7-point lead slip? Like, it was unreal at the best of times. So yeah, I'm gonna go for Wicklow to win that one. Might be a bit of a shock, but there you go.
Yeah, you have two Armagh managers going up against each other as well, so should be an interesting one. But I am going to go for Laois, I think, to edge you. And then in Group 4, Limerick versus Offaly, London versus Down. I suppose last week when we were running through these games, it was London versus Offaly and it was Down versus Limerick, and we both kind of dismissed them very, very quickly. And to be fair, Down did beat Limerick quite comfortably, as we very well know. But London went and turned over Offaly and beat them by, what, 20 points. I mean, that was an absolute hammering and certainly one that we didn't see coming. So can London do anything against Down? Like, we'd probably back Offaly to beat Limerick, but what do you think?
Backing Offaly to beat Limerick? I know Limerick are on a very bad losing streak at the moment, but Offaly would have been devoid of confidence after last week.
I think there has to be a response, though. There has to be surely a response.
There has to be, yeah. But at the same time, this was the same Limerick team that nearly beat Offaly in the league.
Yeah.
So I think might be my second shot prediction. Yeah, there has to be a response. So yeah, right. Flip it on going Limerick. I think Limerick will beat Offaly and end that losing streak. I think Limerick will win that game. And down in London, brilliant result for London last week to get that win over Offaly. Not just win them, batter them. 14 points. Like, that was an incredible result. Even though I think Down should have enough. I think that's self-explanatory. Down are the favourites for this competition for a reason. I think Down should win this comfortably, in all honesty.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was an incredible 14-point win for the men from London, in fairness. But yeah, I think I would back Down to come through that quite comfortably. Before we finish up then, player of the week, bet of the week from both football and hurling. I suppose you've thrown in a few outside predictions there, so we probably have your bets of the week already. But in terms of one to watch or players of the week, what would you be looking towards?
Ones to watch in hurling, probably Conor Burke, Dublin. I think he has the capacity to do well in that midfield against Kilkenny. In football, ones to watch, I think Sean Kelly from Galway. It'll be interesting to see where he actually plays on Saturday. So that's just not one to watch, but one to watch in terms of an interesting kind of standpoint, not a standout, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think for myself, like in Derry, Galway, I'd look at Kieran McFall maybe to have a big game there. You're looking at the obvious ones like Shane McGuigan and whatnot, but I think Kieran McFall could have a huge game there as well, in fairness. Then looking at the hurling, yeah, it is a tough one. Like, from a Dublin perspective, you would be looking at Conor Burke, Donald Burke, absolutely, but I think Owen O'Donnell could be absolutely huge, like playing a full-back, potentially picking up TJ Reid as well. Like, what an absolute battle that would be. So probably go with Owen O'Donnell there. In terms of bet of the week, yeah, look, Clare Cork, I suppose, is a bit of an outside shock. And then in hurling, I think the big one really, if I was to look at a bet or was to look at a surprise, I probably would go with Dublin Kilkenny. I know Kilkenny are favourites, but I know Dublin are coming in good form, and maybe Kilkenny aren't huge favourites, but I would probably look towards that, in fairness. But yeah, look, we'll wrap this up here, I think. We've certainly discussed a lot there in both football and hurling. So anyone who has tuned in, if you could hit the like button and subscribe, that'd be very much appreciated. As I said before, big thanks to anyone who tunes into the show. Big thanks, obviously, for 5,000 subscribers. And yeah, the road to 6,000 begins here. So if anyone has any questions or anything of that nature, feel free to get them in the comments below. And we'll do an Q&A maybe at some point over the next couple of weeks. So, Matthew, cheers very much for coming on the show. And anyone who tuned in, we will speak to you all in the next one.